YNA is a podcast that focuses on mental health and other aspects relating to what goes on inside of a person's head. We are by no means professionals in this field and only aim to make these conversations about mental health easier for the listener. Nothing we say or talk about is professional advice unless explicitly mentioned. If you seek professional advice or experience symptoms of an actual mental disorder, please contact a professional or visit your closest center for behavioral health. You are not alone.
What's up, guys? Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're looking for more of our content and merch information, be sure to check us out at ynamentalhealth.org. Keep an eye out for our skits and upcoming episode information. Feel free to reach out to us on IG. Our DMs are always open. And please remember, you're not alone.
Hello. Welcome back to YNA Mental Health. My name is Sina Balouch, and I am the host of YNA Mental Health. Today's episode is a special episode focused on raising awareness around suicide prevention. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and we're diving into questions that are hard but necessary to talk about. This episode is here to raise awareness, reduce shame, and honor the complexity of suicide. So, let's dive right in. What does it feel like to be suicidal? Now, with suicide, it comes hand in hand with different mental disorders. So a lot of people who struggle with suicidal ideation or struggle with suicide in general have other disorders that link themselves to it. So depression has been linked into suicidal behavior because of the feelings of sadness, the feelings of loneliness, despair, and the struggle of not being able to get out of a difficult moment that you're struggling with. When it comes to suicide, the feeling can be difficult and different for every person. So somebody's symptoms might not be the same for you. When it comes to suicide, a lot of people struggle with the environmental factors that cause the feelings. So a lot of common triggers and losses when it comes to suicide are academic failure, job loss, relationship breakups, loss of acceptance, public shaming, bullying, imprisonment, or even financial instability. When suicidal ideation comes into a factor, it's really good to understand that a lot of people actually have suicidal thoughts, but what the issue is not to act upon those thoughts. And when it comes to other mental disorders, and when you mix other things in, like drugs or alcohol, the feelings can become overwhelming and they can hurt you and add more complex issues later down the road. But I think the question is, why do people become suicidal? So when it comes to the feeling and why, a lot of people point the key driver to be unbearable mental pain. When it comes to unbearable mental pain, it's a feeling that's very hard to describe. And for a lot of people, when it comes to those unbearable mental pain, it's something that they can't get over. So it's not something that they can just wake up the next morning and they feel a lot better, right? It's something that has been bugging them or irritating them for a while. A lot of people have this issue because of the despair, and that's just whatever they're struggling with is really taking over their lives. So like something like an academic failure or job loss, this can take months to recover from. And with the mental pain, it's continuous. It's not something that just one day goes away. It's something that can keep making the person struggle with every single day. And this causes a lot of disconnect, not only from friends and family, but from the world in general. And the goal for someone who is struggling with suicide is to help them reconnect with their life. You know, when people become suicidal, they don't want to live anymore. But it's not the fact of that people want to die. They just want relief. The majority of people who feel suicidal don't actually want to die. They just want the pain to stop. Suicide actually often stems from a belief that there is no way out. The distinction is crucial. With the right support, and many people do actually recover. The next question is, why is suicide not the answer? And that question really brings a honing effect of, what does it mean to you, right? Why is it not the answer for you? It's because when you do commit suicide and you die from it, it's a ripple effect that causes not only bigger issues within your family, but the friends and people around you. I had an old friend who had passed away because she committed suicide, and it caused a huge ripple effect throughout her whole family, friends, and other people who she had connected with. when someone hears that they've lost someone to suicide, it's a crippling effect because the person feels shame, they feel guilt. They say, why didn't I reach out to them? Why didn't I help them? Why didn't I see the symptoms and signs? And I want to be clear that there are no clear signs of someone who is suicidal. Usually, the people that do die by suicide are really good at hiding the pain. So for some people, they may seem happy on the outside, but on the inside, there is an internal struggle that they're dealing with. You may never know why a person died by suicide. While it may have appeared that they had everything to live for, it may not felt that way to them. And I think that's the most scariest part, is because when you're someone who's affected by the feelings of being able to put on a facade and not be able to really express what you're going through, this causes a massive disconnect. And if you're really good at hiding it, you'll never be able to tell the signs. And so that's why talking about it is so important. That's why when we do struggle with suicidal behavior, suicidal ideation, it's important that we start the conversation. And for people, I always recommend that asking the question, how's your mental health, plays such an important role because that question opens the doors for someone to open up to you. And what suicidal people really want is for someone to listen, not to judge them, not for someone to make them feel horrible about why they have these thoughts or those feelings. It's about really getting to understand and be there for them and really help them through this difficult moment. Suicidal people really just want you to listen. And genuine listening plays such an important role in the whole factor of helping people who are struggling. So if you are suicidal, how can I save myself? I think this is a really hard question that, as much as I could give of these answers, it's going to be different for every single person. But saving yourself, it starts with finding hope within yourself, finding hope that you want to continue to live. There was actually a really good story about a guy who jumped off of the San Francisco Bridge. And when he was on the bridge, when he jumped, the one thought that popped into his head was that all he wanted to do was live. And when he hit the water, he had broken all of the bones in his body, but he somehow survived. And the one thing that he said to himself in the hospital bed and said to his friends and family was that all I really wanted in the end was to live when I hit the water. And that's what makes living so important, right? You have to find the hope within yourself to continue to live the life that you want to live. And in difficult moments when life just beats you down, I know that hopelessness becomes such a major impact, right? Like we think that we can find life and be able to just rediscover that within ourselves, but it's difficult. It's hard to pull that out of yourself, especially when you're struggling with depression, anxiety, any other disorders that are playing hand in hand with your symptoms. But remember that when you struggle, it's really important to remember that you're not alone, right? So when we have these conversations where we open up and we talk about our feelings and we talk about what's going on through our head and we talk about the thoughts, it really brings them to light and allows others to get a better understanding of what you're going through and how that they can really be there for you. I always say that if you don't ask, you'll never know. And it's always important to have a mental health conversation with friends. I always recommend checking in on the people you love, right? A simple question of, hey, how are you doing? I just wanted to check in with you. It can really change someone's perspective on having someone there for them. People really love to connect with others. And when we can connect with somebody who is struggling, it allows us to feel more connected with that person. And so when we talk about our struggles and we talk about our feelings and we talk about all of these things, we're able to take that step forward. And so another really big question a lot of people have difficulty answering is, how can I support someone who may be suicidal? There's an amazing training that I'm trained in. It's called QPR, and QPR stands for Question, Persuade, and Referral. It's a quick 1-hour training, and it can be done online. And what the training is basically focused on is, how do I have that conversation with someone who's suicidal? So the first part of QPR, the Q, stands for question. You question that person. Are you thinking about committing suicide? Have you had suicidal thoughts? Is this something that's truly bothering you? So that's where the question starts. And then persuade is really important because now we start the conversation and we dive a little bit deeper and we figure out like, hey, okay, so you do have suicidal thoughts. You do feel this way. But how can I persuade you to get the help that you need? What if I went and tried to find somebody for you? Or what if I talk to your family or come with you to talk to your family? Or why don't I help you find a therapist? Now, that's where the next part of it is really important, referral. It's referring the person to a place where they can feel comfortable, safe, and not scared. I know a lot of people who struggle with suicidal ideation are afraid to talk to people simply because they feel as if they will judge them, and then they'll do something rash like call a mental institute and to help to stop them. I completely understand that person's perspective, because that's really scary. Could you imagine someone just coming into your home, taking you to the hospital, and they don't even understand what you're going through, but at the end of the day, it's just going to make you feel worse. It's not going to make you feel comfortable or safe. And I think that's what's important about suicidal behaviors. How do I feel safe in these moments where I can have these conversations? Or how can I be safe and be able to tell someone that I'm suicidal? And I want you to kind of step into those shoes. Have you ever had something really difficult on your mind and you want to tell someone, but you're just afraid of how they're going to judge you, what they're going to say? And that's an everyday for people who are suicidal. It's they're just so afraid to talk that it just makes everything internalized, which then starts to snowball down the hill to reaching the end point of them committing suicide. And it's scary for everybody, right? These feelings are not something that just, again, magically go away. Suicidal behavior has been known to be continuous. And for people who are suicidal, I want to remind you that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. A lot of the problems that you're facing can be fixed. I know it's a lot of people will come and tell you that time will fix all and time does heal all and all of these things. But for someone who is suicidal, when you say those things, they don't see that. They don't see the future ahead of them. They just feel the pain now. They're in the present moment struggling. And that's what becomes so hard to understand for others is yeah, you can tell them that in a year from now, their life is going to be better. But what about now? How do we help them now through the pain that they're going through? And so that comes to the next part, what resources are available? And what resources can be available are 988, the suicide crisis lifeline. There's therapy, there's medication, there's starting conversations with friends and family just to be able to slowly get that ball rolling, to be able to open up to them and be able to talk about what you're going through. And if you can't feel comfortable or safe talking to friends and family, there are other routes and there's other options for you that can actually help you get through this. I just want to encourage you to check in on the people you love, talk openly about what you're going through, and normalize that emotional honesty is very important. We need to be honest. We have to be courageous and be able to talk about these things, because when we are, it just brings this new light to the subject. And again, for someone who is struggling with suicide, being able to open up, I know it can be hard. I know you may not feel safe. I know that there's a lot of things going through your head. But I want to remind you that you're not alone in what you're struggling with, and that there are people out there who will listen to you and who will actually give a shit about what you're going through. I know that's a weird way of putting it, but it's the honest truth. I always tell people that YNA Mental Health, the focus of YNA Mental Health is to provide a safe space where people can go and talk about their feelings without feeling scared. On our Instagram page at YNA Mental Health, our DMs are always open. I've had many conversations with many different types of people who are struggling with whatever they're going through. And they tell me that I'm so grateful for you being here to be able for me to just tell you what I'm going through and have a non-biased point of view. A non-biased point of view really plays an important factor in what you're struggling with, because when you have a non-biased point of view, that shows that you can open up and not feel judged, have a safe space to really talk about your struggles. There is hope. Even when the mind says there isn't, there is hope for you. And I don't want you to lose the hopelessness within yourself. And if you know anybody who's struggling with suicidal behavior or suicidal ideation, or just even have had any thoughts like that, I would be so grateful if you could share this episode with them and just tell them that, hey, I've been told to just genuinely listen to you. Can you please vent to me? Can you please talk to me? That just shows your courageousness and being there to help prevent more suicidal deaths. And that's the goal, right? Is for Suicide Awareness Month and suicide prevention. Like, our goal is to tell people that, hey, like, you don't have to go through this alone. And I know that and there's certain months for every like, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but the focus is that we need to have suicide prevention all year round. And when we can have suicide prevention all year round, we can slowly start bringing the statistic down of how many people are dying from suicide. 1 in 3 people with major depressive disorder will attempt suicide in their lifetime. Now imagine if we could reduce that. And it just all starts with how we handle our conversations, how we talk to people, making sure that we give them a safe space, making sure that we don't judge them in their struggles. It's just making sure that we're there for them. And that's what the reminder of what you're not alone truly means, is how do we remind someone that I'm here to connect with you, I'm here to listen to you, I'm here to help you, I'm here to support you. Once we can do that, we can really take the step forward to preventing suicide. I'm truly grateful for you to take the time to listen to this episode. You know, I always remind you, please, please, please remember, you're not alone, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.